What if reality isn't as solid as you think? What if the ground you walk on, the walls around you, the story of your life are less like stone and more like smoke, waiting for you to breathe it into form? Here's the truth. Most people never pause long enough to feel reality is not fixed. It bends to the one who is watching. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. The double slit experiment showed us that matter itself, tiny particles of light, behave differently when observed. When no one is looking, they spread out like waves, infinite, potential, undefined. But the moment an observer enters the scene, the wave collapses. The particle chooses a path. Consciousness itself reshapes what is real, and so the same is true in your life. The story you think is carved in stone, the heartbreak, quantum manifestation, the simple shift that changes everything, the
struggle, the identity you've been repeating, isn't fixed.
It is still a wave of possibility. The moment you shift your awareness, the story bends. Pause and really feel that, because it means your future isn't waiting to be discovered, it's waiting to be created. Think of two people standing in the same storm. One curses the rain, feeling punished, burdened, trapped. Another lifts their face to the sky, feeling alive, renewed, washed clean. The storm is the same. What bends is reality inside of them. This is the observer effect, not just in science, but in your soul. The field responds to your gaze. But here's the paradox. For most of your life, you've been observing unconsciously. Reacting instead of choosing, you've been collapsing possibilities into the same old patterns, fear, doubt, unworthiness, without even knowing you were the one setting the lens. And yet, the moment you awaken to this, everything shifts, because now you are not a victim of reality. You are the one reality bends for. When you understand this, healing begins. The heartbreak no longer defines you. It becomes the birthplace of compassion. The failure no longer cages you. It becomes the moment of clarity. The fear no longer paralyzes you. It becomes fuel for courage. Reality did not change. You did, and that is the secret. Reality bends at the point of awareness. So ask yourself right now, what if you stopped observing life through the eyes of survival and started observing through the eyes of creation? What if you stopped collapsing into what has always been and opened into what could be? Because here's the miracle waiting for you. Every moment is still a wave. Every situation, no matter how heavy, still carries infinite potential. Every breath is another chance to choose how reality bends. And when you choose differently, reality has no choice but to respond. This is not escape. This is alignment. The quantum field is not punishing you. It is mirroring you. And the mirror is waiting patiently, faithfully for you to look again. The moment you realize this, you awaken to your true power. You are not at the mercy of reality. You are the one reality bends for. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Every thought, every emotion, every silent belief humming beneath your awareness is not just in your head. It's vibrating through the field. Like an unseen broadcast tower, you are sending signals into the quantum fabric of reality, and those signals return to you in kind. This is not magic, this is resonance. Physics teaches us that everything vibrates. Neuroscience tells us that your emotional states create measurable frequencies in your brain and heart. Fear contracts into a low frequency. Gratitude expands into a higher one. Anger tightens. Love opens. Each state is a station on the dial of creation, and you are the broadcaster. But here's the paradox. You can't fake your frequency. You can speak affirmations with your mouth, But if your subconscious is still echoing doubt, that's the frequency the field responds to. Because the subconscious is always transmitting, always humming beneath the surface. Think of someone you know who walks into a room heavy with resentment. They don't have to speak a word, you feel it. Now think of someone who radiates calm, whose presence soothes you before they even say, hello. That's frequency. That's the hidden signal shaping reality long before action begins. And yet, most of your life you've been tuned to a frequency you didn't choose. Childhood patterns, old traumas, inherited beliefs. They became the songs on repeat. You wonder why you attract the same kind of relationships, the same struggles, the same patterns. It isn't punishment, it's resonance. The field mirrors what you broadcast, not what you wish for. Here's the awakening. The moment you become aware of this hidden frequency, you can shift it. You can train your body and mind into coherence. Joe Dispenza teaches that when the heart and brain align, when thought and emotion harmonize, your frequency becomes a clear signal. And that clarity bends reality. So pause and ask yourself, what frequency have you been sending into the world without knowing? Is it fear disguised as control? Is it unworthiness hidden under striving? Or is it the quiet hum of trust, of love, of enoughness? Because here's the truth. Life is not responding to what you say you want, it is responding to what you are. And the shift begins not by forcing the world to change, but by tuning the signal within. Gratitude, even in the smallest moments, begins to raise your station. Forgiveness clears static from the channel. Presence allows the signal to shine without distortion. When you tune yourself, the world tunes with you. When you raise your frequency, what once seemed impossible begins to find you. Not because you forced it, but because resonance makes it inevitable. The hidden frequency within you is not a secret anymore. It is your invitation. And the field is listening. Nothing is real until you look at it. And the moment you do, it bends to meet your gaze. This is the strange, almost unbelievable truth whispered by quantum physics. The double slit experiment revealed it first. Light, the very building block of your world, exists as infinite possibility until an observer enters. And in that instant, possibility collapses into form, which means your attention is not passive. Your attention is creation. Think of it like this. The quantum field is wet clay, soft, pliable, waiting. Your focus is the sculptor's hand. Wherever you place your gaze, the clay takes shape. Whatever you ignore dissolves back into formlessness. The field doesn't ask, do you like this? Do you want this? It simply responds, you looked, so I became. This is the observer's secret, the truth hidden in plain sight. That the world you live in is not a fixed landscape, but a mirror that reshapes itself according to what you are willing to see. But here's the paradox. Most people spend their lives observing unconsciously. They stare at lack and wonder why abundance never comes. They obsess over fear and wonder why anxiety grows louder. They keep retelling the same painful story and wonder why it repeats. They don't realize every thought is an act of observation. Every fixation is a command to reality. Collapse here, take this form. Imagine two people losing the same job. One focuses on betrayal, failure, rejection. They spiral into despair, seeing proof that life is cruel. The other focuses on possibility, a doorway hidden in the rubble. They begin to imagine new paths, new freedom, a chance to reinvent. Same event, different observation, and over time, their lives diverge into entirely different realities. Why? Because attention is the sculptor, and reality cannot help but obey. This is why teachers like Bob Proctor and Joe Dispenza remind us, what you focus on expands. The brain itself filters billions of bits of information every second, narrowing reality through the reticular activating system. Whatever you label as important, your brain makes more visible. Focus becomes both a psychological filter and a quantum command. So the question becomes, where is your gaze resting? On what is broken or on what is becoming? On the scars or on the healing? On the limits of who you were or the horizon of who you could be? Because the truth is simple and unstoppable. You get more of what you choose to see. Here's the shift. You are not at the mercy of observation. You are its master. You can reclaim authority over your gaze. You can redirect the sculptor's hand. You can train your awareness to look not at what drains you, but at what calls you higher. And when you do, reality has no choice but to bend. This is the observer's secret. The clay is waiting. The gaze is yours. You don't see reality as it is. You see reality as you are. The world you walk through is not a direct reflection of truth. It is a mirror of your subconscious. The invisible programs written long before you were aware. The silent beliefs carried from childhood. The emotional wounds you never asked for, yet learned to live with. And here's the secret. Those programs do not stay hidden. They project. They spill outward, shaping the way you interpret, react, and even attract. The subconscious is not just a storage room of memories. It is a projector, casting its film onto the screen of your life. Science affirms this. Neuroscience shows that up to 95% of your thoughts, choices, and actions arise from subconscious patterns, not conscious will. Which means most of the time, you are not responding to life. You are reenacting an old script. A script written by the 5-year-old version of you, by the heartbreak you never processed, by the belief whispered, you are not enough. And so reality mirrors it back. Think of two people walking into the same crowded room. One, shaped by years of rejection, notices every glance that seems dismissive. They walk away convinced, nobody accepts me. The other, shaped by trust and belonging, notices every smile, every nod of connection. They walk away believing, I am welcome. Same room, same people. Two realities. The mirror simply reflects the subconscious lens. This is why you cannot outrun your patterns. You can change cities, change partners, change jobs, but if the subconscious program doesn't change, the reflection follows you. Different setting, same story, not as punishment, but as a mirror, a chance to finally see what you've been carrying. Here's the awakening. The mirror is not here to hurt you. It's here to show you. It is feedback, not fate. Every repeated struggle, every familiar pain, every cycle you can't seem to escape. It's the subconscious asking to be seen, healed, rewritten, a myth. Goswami once said that consciousness is primary and matter follows, which means when you shift the inner program, the outer reflection has no choice but to shift with you. So pause. What patterns have been mirrored back to you over and over? Scarcity, abandonment, self-doubt. These are not signs that life is against you. They are signs that your subconscious is still broadcasting an old frequency, asking for your attention. And here's the miracle. You can rewrite it through awareness, through meditation, through choosing new thoughts and feeling them until they become familiar. Through forgiving the younger version of you who didn't know better, each choice begins to shift the subconscious lens and the mirror begins to shine differently. The subconscious mirror is not your enemy. It is your teacher. And when you change the reflection within, the world can finally reflect who you truly are. The greatest transformations don't happen through force. They happen through a shift. Not a mountain you must climb, not 1,000 steps you must perfect, but a single choice, in a single moment, to change the state you are living from. You've been taught that change is hard, that manifestation is a grind, that abundance requires endless effort, and peace only comes after years of struggle. But here's the truth. The quantum field doesn't respond to time, it responds to state. The field is listening, not to what you want, but to what you are. And what you are is the frequency you carry in this moment. That is why a single shift in your inner state changes everything around you. Joe Dispenza teaches this. When you step into the feeling of your future before it arrives, your brain and body don't know the difference. They begin broadcasting the signal of that reality now, and the field, like a mirror, bends to match. Think of it like tuning a radio. You don't have to build a new station or fight static forever. You simply turn the dial. One small adjustment, and suddenly you are receiving a completely different broadcast. The same is true with you. When you shift from fear to trust, from lack to gratitude, from resistance to surrender, your entire frequency changes, and life reorganizes itself to meet you there. Here's a simple example. Two people face an unexpected bill. The first reacts from scarcity. I'll never have enough. Life is unfair. That state broadcasts fear, and the field reflects more lack, more struggle. The second pauses, breathes, and chooses a different state. This is a chance to expand. Money flows back to me in ways I cannot see yet. That state broadcasts possibility, and the field responds with new opportunities, unexpected solutions, doors opening where walls once stood. Same event, different state, different reality. This is the art of the simple shift, not forcing the outside world to change, but embodying the change inside of you first. And here's the secret. It doesn't take years of work. It takes presence. It takes awareness in the moment when fear rises, when doubt whispers, when lack pulls at you. It takes the courage to pause, to notice the old pattern, and to choose again. Because the quantum field doesn't care about the past. It cares about now. Every moment is another chance to broadcast a new frequency. Every breath is a doorway to switch stations, so ask yourself, what state are you broadcasting right now? Survival or creation? Separation or connection? Fear or faith? The mirror of reality is waiting for your choice. And the shift is far simpler than you think. Not force, not struggle, just a shift. And when you shift, everything shifts with you. The universe doesn't hear your words, it feels your frequency. You can say, I am abundant 1,000 times. But if your body is still vibrating lack, the field listens to the vibration, not the vocabulary. Because the true language of creation is not thought alone. It is emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. It is the bridge between your inner state and the quantum field. It is the signal that either expands your future or repeats your past. Science confirms this. When you feel gratitude, your heart generates a coherent rhythm. That rhythm strengthens your electromagnetic field and broadcasts a clear, elevated signal. When you feel fear, your heart rhythm becomes chaotic, incoherent, sending a distorted signal. The field responds to both, without judgment, without preference. It mirrors whatever energy you are in. This is why emotion is the accelerator of manifestation. Thought sets direction, but emotion gives it fuel. A thought without feeling is like a seed without water. It never grows roots. It never blossoms into form. But a thought wrapped in elevated emotion becomes magnetic. It pulls timelines, people, and opportunities into alignment. Think of two people with the same dream. Both want to start a business. The first carries constant fear. Their mind is filled with vision, but their body is flooded with anxiety. The field hears the vibration of fear and reflects struggle, obstacles, resistance. The second steps into the vision with gratitude. I am already supported. I am already connected. This is unfolding for me. They live in the emotional state of what they want before it arrives. The field mirrors that frequency. Doors open, synchronicities align. Help appears, same dream, same desire, different emotion, different reality. This is why teachers like Joe Dispenza remind us, you cannot create a new future while feeling the emotions of your past. If you want to create something different, you must feel something different before the evidence appears. It sounds impossible at first. How do you feel joy when life feels heavy? How do you feel abundance when your bank account shows lack? How do you feel peace when chaos surrounds you? Here's the answer. You practice. You start small. You anchor into the emotion of gratitude for what already exists. For breath, for a sunrise, for the chance to try again. Gratitude shifts your frequency instantly because it pulls you out of absence and into presence. From there, joy, peace, and love become easier to embody. And when you embody them, you are no longer waiting for the future, you are broadcasting it. The quantum field doesn't bring you what you want someday. It brings you what you are now. Emotion is the proof you have stepped into that version of yourself before the evidence shows up. This is the language of creation. The universe speaks in frequency, not words. And emotion is how you write your story into the field. So here's your shift. Stop waiting to feel good when life changes. Feel good so that life changes. Gratitude, joy, peace. These are not just feelings, they are frequencies. They are invitations, and the moment you speak to the universe in its true language, emotion, it will always respond. Every limitation you've carried, every ceiling, every boundary, this is just the way things are, has only ever existed as an echo of your old self. The self that was formed in fear, in habit, in repetition. The self that thought survival was enough, even when your soul whispered for more. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop feeding a limitation with your attention, the structure that once looked solid begins to dissolve. Like mist touched by the morning sun, it collapses into nothing. Not because the wall has been broken down, but because it was never truly real. This is the quantum truth. Timelines are only sustained by observation. Possibility collapses into form because you watch it, you believe it, you rehearse it. The same law that proves particles appear when observed is the same law that sustains your own limitations. They remain only because you keep looking at them. Imagine two people facing the exact same situation. One sees a closed door, proof of rejection and finality. The other sees a door as a threshold, a sign that something else must open, something better aligned. The difference is not in the external reality. It is in the story each one has agreed to keep alive. You have been rehearsing stories too. Stories like, I'm not ready. I don't deserve it. It's too late for me. But stories are not facts. They are frequencies. Each one emits a signal into the field and the field responds, not with judgment, not with punishment, but simply with resonance. The universe mirrors back what you insist on playing. So the question becomes, what happens when you stop pressing play? When you no longer fuel the old identity, the timeline that belonged to it collapses. The opportunities that matched that vibration dissolve. The people, the cycles, the dead-end paths, they fall away, not as loss, but as release. Space is cleared for a higher octave of possibility. This is why letting go feels like death to the ego, because it is. The identity that kept you small, that clung to limitation as if it was safety, cannot walk with you into the infinite field. It must dissolve, so the real you can emerge. And this is not just theory. Think of the person who finally ends a toxic relationship after years of telling themselves they couldn't live without it. For a moment, they feel like they're falling into nothingness, into an empty timeline. But soon, space opens, new connections emerge, energy returns. They realize the limitation they were clinging to was never a foundation. It was a cage. Here's the truth. Every time you let an old story die, reality shifts. Every time you release a limiting identity, timelines collapse. And every collapse is not destruction, it's rebirth. You are not here to fight your limitations. You are here to outgrow them. So the next time you feel the weight of a boundary pressing against you, remember, it is only as real as the story you continue to tell. Stop feeding it and watch it vanish. Stop rehearsing the past, and the infinite field will show you paths you never imagined. Because the only thing collapsing is not your future. It's the illusion that you were ever small. What if reality was never something you had to chase, but something you had to tune into? The moment you shift, the moment you release the identity of limitation, you are invited into a new way of living. A way where you no longer act from the past, but from the field, where life stops being a sequence of conditions and becomes a symphony of frequencies. This is what it means to live in the field, to stop measuring your future by what you see and instead anchor into what you know, to stop asking, when will it come? And start embodying, it is already here. Science has shown us this paradox again and again. In the double slit experiment, particles behave like waves of possibility until they are observed. Then, they collapse into form. Your life works the same way. The field holds infinite timelines, infinite versions of you, infinite futures. But the one you observe, through thought, through feeling, through identity, is the one that crystallizes. Most people live as observers of the past. They wake up rehearsing yesterday's emotions, repeating yesterday's stories, collapsing yesterday's timeline. They think they are creating their life, when in truth, they are recycling it. But you are learning to live differently. You are learning to stabilize in the field. This means you no longer check the outer world for evidence of change. You no longer wait for physical proof before you allow yourself to feel aligned. Instead, you begin with the frequency. You wake up and breathe as if it is already done. You walk into rooms as the version of you who already carries the outcome. You stop rehearsing lack and start rehearsing fulfillment. Think of two people applying for the same opportunity. One enters with the energy of desperation. I need this to work out or else I'm nothing. The other enters with alignment. This is one path among many, and I am already complete. Which one do you think the field bends toward? Which one magnetizes? The difference is not in skill, but in frequency. Living in the field does not mean escaping the physical. It means letting the physical follow the invisible. You still answer emails, you still pay bills, you still walk into meetings and make choices. But the difference is, you are no longer ruled by them. You are no longer reacting to appearances. You are moving from a state of creation rather than survival. This is why intention matters. This is why mindfulness is not just a practice, but a portal. Every time you bring yourself back to presence, back to the breath, back to the heart, you remind your nervous system that it is safe to live in alignment. You remind your body that the future is not something to fear, but something to welcome. Here's the truth. The field is always responding. The question is not whether it works. The question is whether you are coherent enough to hold the frequency long enough for reality to mirror it back. So let this be your practice. Walk as though it is already done. Speak as though you are already whole. Move as though the field is already rearranging itself around your energy, because it is. Living in the field is not about waiting for evidence, it's about becoming the evidence. And when you do, life stops being something you chase and starts being something you embody. What if the change you've been chasing was never outside of you, because it was you all along? The journey doesn't end with techniques or practices or even manifestations. It ends with a realization so profound it feels like a homecoming. You are not trying to shift. You are the shift. For so long, you may have believed that life was about attracting things into your orbit. The right job, the right relationship, the right circumstance. And yes, those things matter. They can be beautiful reflections. But the truth is, they were never the goal. They were never the treasure. You were. Here's the paradox. When you stop trying to pull reality toward you and instead embody the identity of the one who already has it, reality has no choice but to meet you there. Because consciousness collapses possibility into form. Identity is the observer. And when you change who is watching, you change what is seen. Think of the double slit experiment once more. The electron does not decide whether to appear as a wave or a particle. It responds to the observer. The act of looking collapses it into a reality. And in the same way, your identity, the story you hold about who you are, is the observer of your life. Shift the identity and everything you look at transforms. Consider this. Two people step into the same challenge. One says, "Why does this always happen to me? I'm cursed, I'm unlucky, I'm stuck." Their identity is rooted in victimhood, and so life mirrors that frequency back. The other says, "This is an initiation. This is proof of my strength, a stepping stone into my expansion." Their identity is rooted in growth, and life mirrors that instead. Same circumstance, different self, two worlds unfolding in parallel. This is why becoming the shift matters. Because the moment you stop rehearsing the old self, the moment you stop waiting for the world to confirm your worth, you step into embodiment. You stop practicing manifestation as something you do and start living as manifestation itself. Joe Dispenza often says, "Your personality creates your personal reality," which means the greatest act of creation is not in attracting what you want, but in becoming the one who naturally lives in alignment with it. Identity is not just a mask you wear, it is the frequency you broadcast. And the field responds to frequency. Imagine a person who spent years trying to attract abundance, repeating affirmations, visualizing outcomes, chasing opportunities. Nothing seemed to last. Then one day, they stop chasing. They start embodying. They begin walking, speaking, breathing as someone who already trusts in their own sufficiency. Opportunities flow. People respond differently. Doors open, not because the universe suddenly favored them, but because they finally remembered who they were all along. The creator of worlds. This is your invitation to stop seeking proof outside of yourself and to start living as the proof. To stop asking, "When will it happen?" and start declaring, "I am already it." To become the frequency that makes alignment inevitable. Here's the truth. The shift was never about creating something new. It was about remembering. Remembering that you were never small, never powerless, never separate from the infinite. You are not practicing the shift anymore. You are becoming it. And when you live as the shift itself, life doesn't just change around you. It bends through you.